No one.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Gators Online Show. Zach, if we were going to give this a secondary name, it might be called The Case of the Mondays. We got a lot to break down. It was a disappointing Saturday in the Swamp. The Florida Gators fell to USF, now ranked USF, but fell to USF 18-16 in one of the more stunning games that people have seen at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in a while. So we're going to break down that, dissect what went right, not much, what went wrong, a lot. And then we will talk about the grades of the team and all that stuff. And then we've got a little basketball to speak on later in the show.
They'll like to hear that, Keith.
That's right. We're going to have some good news. We're going to put some good news in there. But I am Keith Niebuhr. That is Zach Albaverde. And before we get going, Zach, you've got to do a quick ad read.
Absolutely. Want to give a shout out and start the show as we do each and every week with Game Time. College football season is back, and you love being at the tailgates. You love being at the games and getting your butts in the stands, but sometimes getting tickets can be difficult. Well, the Game Time app gives advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. There are no surprise fees at checkout, and you can get college football tickets for as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3 for 20% off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code ON3. That's ON and the number 3 for 20% off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download the Game Time app today.
All right, Zach, back at the Swamp on Saturday afternoon, you and I were sitting near each other in the press box, and there must have been 15 plays during that game where we looked at each other and just were like, what just happened? Shaking our heads. It was just one of those games where everything that could have gone wrong for Florida did. They didn't play well. The other team did play well. And when it was over, USF had won with the last-second field goal. And it is a humbling defeat for Florida. You actually went back and rewatched the game like you do every week. Was it as bad the second time around? Was it worse? Was it not as terrible? What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you go back and watch the game, as I'm sure obviously Florida did on Sunday, and it's frustrating and somewhat baffling to just see how they didn't capitalize on that game. That the opportunities that they had in the red zone that they let slip away, the penalties that they committed, and just the miscues overall. Obviously, the safety stands out. The spitting by Brendan Bett. And just, to see this kind of just set their season off the rails already 2 weeks in. It's disappointing. I thought the defense, again, I felt that watching the game and then going back and rewatch it, I thought that they had plenty of strong moments in the game and played well enough to win. And USF closes out both of the halves with 8-play field goal drives. So I give the Bulls credit there, but that last drive that they had to win the game should not have happened. Florida should have got first downs on their last series and put the game away. And, to get the ball back, I know I harped on it after the game, but to have them miss that 58-yard field goal, you get it with over 2 minutes left, and to have 2 incomplete passes and a 3-and-out and run 27 seconds off the clock. Those were killers. We put up the 5 key plays at Gators Online. It was hard to knock them down to 3, Keith, and we'll kind of give our full takeaways. But to me, I'll say the second called back touchdown in the red zone, because the first one Napier admitted was a holding call on Cam Waits, so he conceded that. But the offensive pass interference call on Hayden Hansen was just a terrible call. And Napier said that they were going to turn it in. And that was 2 touchdowns in the red zone that Tony Livingston had. and missed. That was one of them. The other one was obviously the one that went right through his hands on Florida's opening drive. So their first two series, they get in the red zone, should have had 2 touchdowns to Tony Livingston, and instead they come away with 2 field goals. I mentioned the scoring drives that USF had at the end of each half. Man, that first one, Florida had Byron Brown in 3rd and 8. Jaden Woods had him sacked. It would have been at the 37-yard line. It would have put him in a 54-yard field goal. And instead, he spins out of the sack, breaks a tackle by Tyreek Sapp, and runs for 20 yards and sets up a chip shot on the last play of the half. That was a key play. USF 66-yard touchdown. They completely caught Florida, sleeping. They're over there looking to the sidelines trying to get the call, and they just run it after their second down carry by Brown and just catch the Gators. I mean, they had 2 guys right there that could have made a play on the ball. It was just a mess for Florida on that play, and that was a backbreaker. You give the Gators credit. They responded to that and the safety. The safety came after that 66-yard touchdown. In the fourth quarter, Vernell Brown with a huge punt return. And I'll note this, Keith. I give Napier and the staff credit, and you might remember this, when right before Vernell Brown's 40-yard punt return, USF had punted before, and UF downed it, but there was a penalty on the Bulls, and UF made them kick again. And it was a smart decision, obviously, because that led to Vernell Brown's 40-yard return. I will also add that as much as it was maybe disappointing for Florida fans to see Devin Moore drop that pick, had he made it, that's where the Gators would have started, and you wouldn't have seen Vernell Brown III's 40-yard punt return. So it actually worked out for the Gators that Devin Moore dropped that. And then at the end of that punt return, they get the late hit on Brown. That gets set up at the 20-yard line for Florida on that series, and that 3rd and goal strike to Eugene Wilson was huge, especially after the play before DJ Lagway just threw over Hayden Hance's head. He had him wide open. Would have been a walk-in touchdown. So he came back on the next play, and Keith, Florida had the game won. They got a 3-and-out on the series after that on defense when they took the go-ahead score, 16-15. And then that last drive, it just all fell apart for the Gators. The pass interference on Dijon Johnson, the spitting on Brendan Bett, and then the next play, I thought the last key play of the game, the 29-yard catch and run by Alvin Isaac, a Gainesville native from Hawthorne High School. He caught the ball, Keith, 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage on the screen pass. He got totally knocked back, and he breaks 2 tackle attempts by Jaden Robinson and Bryce Thornton. Jaden Robinson never misses tackles. And for him to be able to split those 2 defenders, he gets down the sideline for a 29-yard gain. It puts USF in Florida territory and in field goal range, and at that point, the game was lost. So,
Alvin Isaac, I want to point out, he also had a big run on that last drive of the first half.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a 22-yard run where, quite frankly, he faked Jordan Castell out of his shoes. And, he's going to have his ankles checked after that one. That was, and I know what people were saying. They're saying, look, the offense lost the game. But these games, to me, Zach, they're team efforts. You lose as a team. The safety on the special team was costly for Florida. The defense may not have allowed a lot of points. And this is what I'm saying. I know the offense stunk it up. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give too much credit to the defense because sometimes, and I talked to a couple former Gator players yesterday, they said sometimes you got to suck it up and win that 16-15 game as a defense.
Yeah.
You got to lift the other side up to the finish line. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't 391 yards for USF, which isn't a ton, but it was almost 30 yards more than Florida had. Couldn't really get off the field when they needed to. Like you said, Zach, you mentioned that last drive of the first half. So frustrating. And then obviously the final drive.
Yeah, they converted so many key third downs, man. Florida had them stopped.
And Zach, I don't think somebody tweeted this last night, and I've not had time to check it, but he's somebody that I consider knowledgeable. I believe they tweeted that UF did not force a third down on USF's last drive until the end, until the field goal. So
Correct.
I haven't. Okay, well that's
correct.
You didn't even get to third down on the last drive. Penalties hurt, obviously, but you're right. They had Alvin Isaac bottled up on the sideline. You're thinking, boy, that's it. That's the game. He's gone.
Yeah, huge play.
By the way, that's the work done sideline, but in going in the opposite direction, where you think you've got a guy, and it's just a huge play. And USF again didn't have a lot of yards, didn't have a lot of chunk plays. But by the way, they had more chunk plays offensively than Florida did. And we can get into that later. Which,
and I'll add one more thing.
Yeah.
If I had to put a number 6 key play, it'd be the illegal substitution on the failed fourth down. I mean, 12 guys on the field. Yeah. The Bulls should be turning the ball over. Instead, they get a field goal there.
I'm glad you bring that up, Zach, because that was going to be my next question to you. This is a veteran team, all right? They didn't play a whole lot of freshmen the other day. I think 6 of them played, true freshmen, excuse me. A veteran team, a lot of guys back, a lot of experience, and yet Florida had 11 penalties. Now we can say that one was probably bogus on Hayden Hansen, but that would still been 10 penalties, over 100 yards. They did not have a double-digit penalty game all of last season. And so in addition to being sloppy on offense, to giving too many big plays up on defense in a game where again, if it was 40-38, it wouldn't have been a lot of big plays. But in a game that's that tight, USF had more big plays. So I know that sounds weird, but that's how you got to look at it. But the mental mistakes, Zach, this is a team, a program that's built on culture, on the experience. This was a big selling point this offseason. What do you make of these turnovers? Flukish a little bit or major concern?
Yeah.
Tough to answer, I know.
Yeah, as far as the turnovers by Florida?
Not the turnovers, the penalties. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I think one thing that I would take away from the penalties on the offensive line, again, they had penalties called on each of the 5 offensive line positions, which you usually don't see. And they are rotating their backup linemen. They did it last year, but they did it a lot early in the season. And then as the year went on, they got away from it. They still did it, but they didn't do it as much. Just my observation or theory, but I do wonder how much the rotation of the linemen coupled with Lagway's time away from the field in the offseason not only might be leading to some of these penalties and false start issues and just lack of cohesion, but just I mean that could be leading to a lot of their issues in pass protection, in operation of the offense, but specifically they just seemed out of sorts at times on the line, and I do wonder, rotating guys, how much is that impacting the penalties? We'll have to see, because they didn't have any in the first game, so we'll have to see if this continues to be an issue.
Okay, well, let's address the elephant in the room. I mean, everybody, DJ Lagway was a Heisman candidate, right? I mean, going into the season, showing up on all the odds makers lists, but he missed so much time. And you and I kept telling people, look, I mean, because a lot of people were saying, hey, look, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And, maybe physically, sure, maybe mentally, sure, but he missed so much football time. You don't get better just watching film. You get better watching film, facing live bullets with your team and facing live bullets with your teammate. And he missed a lot of that. So, Zach, you went back and rewatched it. What do you think of his performance the other day? And what did he do right? What did he not do right?
Well, look, I want to start by saying that, I think Napier would be the first person to take ownership for some of the things that he did poorly as a play caller in that game, and in either bad calls he made, situations that he handled poorly. Obviously, again, I'll harp on it again, that last drive that Florida had offensively where they had a chance to run the clock out and they called 2 passing plays instead of running the ball, and even the third down play, which was probably DJ's best throw of the day, Keith.
Yeah.
And it went through Vernell Brown III's hands, which don't happen. like Florida calling a slot fade there on 3rd and 3. I mean, you don't got anything else that you can get 3 yards with. I'm nitpicking here, but like that's a tough call there. And obviously, I could go to a lot of other series and a lot of other moments, and you can say, hey, Napier could have played that better. However, I want to focus on this. After rewatching the game, I would say that Lagway's performance was by far the most concerning thing on offense. And if you don't believe me, go and watch. His name is The Film Guy, and he's got his own YouTube channel. He broke down Lagway's performance on YouTube. He's got the all 22, so you can see the plays behind the line of scrimmage. The biggest issues in that game on offense were Lagway's play, and it was not the play calling. And that's just the film does not lie. He missed open receivers. He missed windows where he could have, fired the ball in to get first downs and easy completions, and he did not either take them or see them. He misfired on some throws. Obviously, I mentioned the one to Hayden Hansen where he just completely sailed it over his head. Probably his worst throw of the day was the interception. Rolling to his right, throwing across his body, had no business making that throw, Keith. And another one too was the throw that he sailed over Hayden Hansen's head. It was kind of like a fade route, and when he threw it, he threw it like it was a jump, like it was a fadeaway jump shot. Like you got to step into your throw. So just so many things, so many issues there mechanically. Him seeing things, recognizing things, and these are all issues that you would expect from a guy who practiced for 2 weeks all off season. Yeah. So, but here's the biggest thing, and this, I know this from talking to sources, and you can go back and watch the game and you can see this play. This really speaks and underscores just DJ not having a feel for the game yet and not being himself. On the play in the first half, when he scrambled for a first down to the left, if you go back and watch the play, Keith, and everyone listening, DJ Lagway, as he's scrambling for the first down, goes to pump fake. He does a pump fake to fake a pass. There is nobody near him. There's nobody around for him to try to fake out with that move. It was completely unnecessary. And I know from people in his camp that when they saw him do that in the game, they're like, what is he doing? What is he pump faking there for? They said that in the stands watching the game.
Wow.
So DJ is out of sorts. He is not in game. He does not have the feel of the game yet. And he's missing open guy. He's missing easy crossing routes, folks. So I open that to criticize Billy because he did some things poorly as a play caller, but you can go back and watch the film. He was not the issue. It was the quarterback.
Zach, I haven't seen a guy fake out nobody since the last time you and I played one-on-one on the basketball court. Listen, so, it's funny you mentioned that. On that long throw that was intercepted, rolling right, you said, throwing back across his body, you said, that's right. He had nobody really near him. He probably could have set his feet, to be honest with you. Right? I mean, if my memory's right on that play. And then going back to last season, of the 9 interceptions, I would say, I think a handful of them were identical throws, maybe not that length, maybe not that far downfield, but rolling right, throwing across the body. That's a typical mistake of a young quarterback who can get away with it in high school because of their enormous talents, right? Of his enormous talents. You get to college, it's a little harder. You get to the NFL, you can't do it at all. And so that's, again, you can watch that on film. So you say, we're going to look at all his mistakes he made last year. There weren't a ton, but you take the mistakes he made last year. We're going to watch him on film. We're going to show him what he did wrong. We're going to get it into your brain. But if you're not doing live simulations of that, it's hard to fix that. And also, I remember talking to Chris Doering back at SEC Media Days, the former Florida All-American receiver. His biggest concern was chemistry with receivers.
Yeah.
Well, we're seeing a little bit of that. You
Yeah.
missed a lot of time. I mean, coaches for years and years and years, since the dawn of time, have talked about the importance of practice and building chemistry. That's why, otherwise you wouldn't practice. And now they practice year round, man. They're literally practicing year round, which is a little shocking because when you watch this first few weeks of college football, the play just isn't that great. So you're wondering what they're actually doing in practice. But they practice year round for this very thing, right? To build chemistry. And that there's different layers to that: chemistry, continuity, everything within an offensive unit. And you're seeing that they don't have that. Zach, biggest single issue right now for Florida, you're saying on offense?
It's DJ.
What about on just, is there anything on defense you think? I mean, look, the numbers on defense are kind of weird because, again, only 18 points allowed against USF and then none against Long Island. So the statistics are kind of, it's hard to kind of really put too much of a finger on them. But what could they do better defensively? What can they only have 2 sacks. I thought they only had 1 sack total in the 2 games. And I looked at the national stats this morning, Zach, and somehow miraculously UF has another sack. So they're up to 2 sacks. That's not a lot. Long Island didn't throw hardly at all. But what could they do a little bit better on defense? Maybe is there just one thing? Obviously, Caleb Banks hasn't played yet. Maybe that's the difference maker. You tell me.
I mean, I hate to nitpick it because they tackled well in the first game, but I would say just tackling and more importantly, finishing plays when they're there to be made. And it hasn't been, again, we're 2 games in. So, and this guy that did that to them was Byron Brown. Like, Garrett Nussmeier is not making the plays that Byron Brown, he's not escaping the sacks that Byron Brown did on Saturday. He's not scrambling the way that Byron Brown, but there are other quarterbacks on the schedule, Marcel Reed in particular, that can do it. So, I mean, that would be, I mean, they definitely had some plays in that last game, Keith, where they had opportunities to get sacks or stops and missed tackles. We just talked about them.
Turnovers.
During the 5 key plays. And I think if they can get more sacks, certainly get more turnovers, although, again, it worked out for Florida that Devin Moore didn't bring down that pick on that one play. But I still don't think, I mean, I think that the defense is, I think that they probably feel good about where they're at right now. I think that they'll get better tackling. I mean, they're 2 games in. I don't know how many quarterbacks that they're going to see that are going to pull that many Houdini tricks that Byron Brown pulled on Saturday. So I think the defense is fine, and I think they're only going to get better when Caleb Banks gets back. I don't have concerns on that side of the ball. My concerns are with DJ Lagway, Florida's offensive line, just getting more in sync and performing at the level that we thought that it was going to be an elite unit. And it hasn't looked like that, at least certainly through 2 weeks. And then last but not least, offensively, Napier calling plays, given all that, given DJ's issues, given the line issues, he's got to now manage a game plan with that in mind.
That's right. One thing I would say about the defense, I know people probably are going to chew me up because I'm harping on it. Again, they probably did enough to win. You normally are going to win that game if you only give up 18 points. But on that last
16
drive,
points.
16. That's right, the safety.
Yeah, then there's 16 points.
Okay. But on that last drive, USF gets to the, in that 20, 25-yard range and ran the ball 2 straight plays. So at that point, like, look, USF's got an outstanding field goal kicker. He's probably going to make it anyway, but you don't know that. And 2 consecutive plays, the push was enormous, and USF got 6 yards and 6 yards on back-to-back plays when you knew what was coming. Now, Brendan Bett was out of the game, correct?
Yeah.
Caleb Banks didn't play. I mean, that matters, right? But you know what's coming. Hey, guys, if we can hold them to nothing on these next 2 plays, which we know what the plays are, we know what's going right up the gut, then it's a 37-yard field goal instead of a 20-yard field goal. And by the way,
Florida maybe gets the ball back.
Correct. You're going to win. The guy's going to miss some of those, right? He ain't missing a PAT. That kid's not missing a PAT, which is all that was. And quite frankly, if USF had one more play to run. If they had time for another play, they probably would have scored at that point. They were just going right up the gut.
Yeah.
So that would be my
I would just argue back, and you would agree, and I think most fans would, that it should have never came to that.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
Like they,
again, you win as a team, you lose as a team. I'm a big believer in that.
That's right. That's right. And you're right. There's sometimes where even if the other side of the ball is not holding their end of the bargain, you still got to show up.
Zach, sometimes you got to win one of those ugly 12-10 games. That's football.
I tell you what, the swamp came alive in the fourth quarter, man. I thought Florida was going to win it.
Look, when they scored the touchdown and went ahead, you're thinking,
and then they went 3-and-out on the next series.
That's right. You're thinking that's it. And USF actually, I believe, went 2 straight series. I want to say after they took the lead, I think they had 2 straight 3-and-outs. And they're not getting anything. The push is there on the Florida defensive line, and everything was clicking. And man, it just turns on a dime. They got to figure some things out. They got to clean up the little things. There's still a lot in front of them, but that was really disappointing. Zach, the grades. We're going to talk about the grades. We need to do an ad read first.
Yes.
Let's do that first.
Okay. All right. Obviously, we are in football season, folks. And with that, you know that it's Modelo season. The college football year for 2025 has officially kicked off. And if you're listening to this right now, it means it's time for a reward. Reward your full-time fandom with an ice-cold Modelo. Modelo is the official beer sponsor of the college football playoff. Gator Nation, you deserve a Modelo.
They certainly do deserve a Modelo after that one. There were a lot of empties.
They probably had a lot of them on Saturday night.
It's just, Zach, it's just still so shocking. Here we are, a few days later. It's just shocking. And then, euphoria, obviously, in North Tampa right now. All right, we got to talk about the grades. The grades were fantastic in week 1. They didn't play a very good team. And their grades this week from Pro Football Focus certainly reflected the score, right? It sort of matched up with it based on what you wrote. So each week, Pro Football Focus goes through and they breaks down, for those that don't know, mansplaining here. They break down everything from a game and they post the grades for each individual player. What is it, a scale of to 100, correct, Zach?
Yep. Yeah. Like you see a guy in the 90s, it's like that never happens, which is why Tyreek Sapp's 90 grade for the season last year was like, whoa.
Yeah, he's going to have a hard time reaching 90 this year after the numbers from the other day. All right, so offensively, your leader, Jake Slaughter, but only 74. What were your takeaways from the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I'll give you offense, but just in general, right there out of the gate. And again, week 1 was against Long Island, but the first game, Florida had 10 players that graded out higher than 80. And 3 of them were higher than 90, including Jake Slaughter. This past Saturday, nobody was above 75. So kind of shows you the difference there. I thought that one of the takeaways, I mentioned it earlier, that Florida continues to rotate their backup linemen. We knew that they were going to do it with the guards, and it hasn't been a surprise that it's happened the first 2 games. Didn't maybe expect Caden Jones to get as much work as he's gotten, but a couple things about that. Obviously, Bryce Lovett has had the struggles in the first game. I think that's given Caden more opportunities. He took advantage of it on Saturday. He was in the game on that second series. He was in the game on the touchdown, and he actually graded out as one of Florida's top 5 players. Now, again, they didn't have a lot of guys grade out high. But he graded out in the top 5, and I thought he looked good. And I'll also give Lovett credit. He didn't grade out high, but he graded out in the top 5. He got a 69. It's not bad. But look, he was the lowest graded player on the team last week, and his grade was 38 overall. So to go from a 38 to 69 is an upgrade. And for him to finish in the top 5 after he had that false start on the opening drive and basically, got subbed out for Caden Jones. It looks like he played well for the rest of the game. Look, Florida's 4 of their top 5 players on offense were offensive linemen. And then the fifth guy was Tony Livingston. So just not a lot there certainly from Lagway and enough firepower from here. I mean, look, I thought Vernell Brown III and Eugene Wilson played well, but just not good enough on offense.
Zach, one of the grades that kind of caught my eye, Austin Barber, 68.8, was over 90 last week. This is a guy that you're touting as an all SEC kind of guy, left tackle, potential All-American type. And, that's, that's not a terrible grade, but that's not a good grade. That's not the grade you expect from Austin.
No,
Austin
and he didn't have a good game. He had the false start. He got beat a couple times. There was one play where I want to say it was on the sack that he had a guy run right by him. He just didn't recognize it in time.
Well, look, we can complain about the play calling all day and offensive game plans, and we do, and everybody does, because that's what we do. But what do coaches say? It comes down to blocking and tackling. And you're looking at these grades, and regardless of what the plays called were, those grades aren't good enough. Those blocking grades aren't good enough. Those execution grades by your receivers. J. Michael Sturdivant is a fifth-year senior. He graded out your UCLA receiver transfer. He graded out at 63.2. You need more from these guys. That's the way I look at it. So it just wasn't a great game offensively, and the numbers certainly reflect that.
And not only 63.2, but I mean, that was the third lowest grade on offense, and actually second lowest, because I think Amir Jackson didn't play many snaps. So, I mean, I didn't think J. Michael Sturdivant had a great game. And then on the defensive side, Keith, you saw some guys do well. I think Devin Moore obviously had a great game. Jaden Robinson had a great game, career high 9 tackles. It was good to see. Aaron Gates seemed like he was a little bit more involved this week. And I thought Bryce Thornton played really well. There was that one series that he was all over the place. Had a pass breakup, had a great tackle. He finished with 5. But I think, to your point, Keith, just not enough standouts there from the defensive line, from the defensive front, should we say?
Yeah.
The George Gumses, Yamari Lyons, Tyreek Sapp, Mekhi Barrow. I mean, those are some of Florida's lowest graded players. Again, I think that the defense played well enough to win, but those guys had their hands full with Byron Brown, and he got the better of them, obviously.
I'm looking at the grades. George Gums, 55.2, your senior edge. Jamari Lyons, this was a surprise too, 57.6 at your nose position. Tyreek Sapp, only 59.4. He did have a sack in the game. I think that was more of a coverage sack, but he got the sack. And you could see he was one of those guys trying to fire up his teammates throughout the game, especially in the fourth quarter. So he was there mentally. The headspace was good. It just the performance overall up front. You're right. You look at those numbers. Brian Taylor, 60.6. Kofi Asari, actually only had a couple snaps, but 60.6. Cameron James, 62.0. Jaden Woods, 66.1. Brandon Bett, 60.9. Just not enough. I think Florida had 4 tackles for loss in the game. Zach, and USF had 7. Just not enough big plays. USF always.
And I would say, just some perspective, because I've been looking at these grades for a few years now. Like if you're usually a solid performance is like grading out in the 70s. Like if you graded out in the 70s, it's kind of fits as about average. Probably maybe a little above average, because it's, like I said, it's very hard to get a 90. If you grade out like in the high 70s, or certainly if you're in the 80s, you had a good game. Most guys are on these grades each week are in the 70s and 80s if they performed well or solid. Once you start getting into the 60s, and then certainly once you get into the 50s, that's reflective of a poor performance. Just
Zach,
for some context for people
no,
listening.
I appreciate that. Zach, back when I was in college, we used to have media sessions. I want to say every Tuesday with Steve Spurrier when he was the coach. And after a loss to FSU one year, I'm not going to name the names here, but he had left his notes. Spurrier had left his notes in the lectern and the podium, whatever we call it, in the little section right there. And I just happened to walk around it, and I caught a glimpse of it. Actually, I pulled it out, looked at it. Well, one guy's name on the team, I won't say his name, had a marijuana leaf drawn around his name. Okay, he didn't play. Okay. Another guy, one of the starting offensive linemen, this was after a loss to FSU, had a 52 grade. Your starting offensive line. But across the board on that offensive line, I'm not going to say what year it was, but I would give it away. But across the board, it was all 50s and 60s. And you're right, they just got they couldn't handle it. They got beat down. But yeah, they just got to be better. I think that's it. Any final takeaways on the grades before we get into hoops, Mr. Zach?
No, I think they speak for themselves. I mean, you got all those guys in the 80s and nobody above 75 in the second week. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah. All right. Ready to get to some good news? Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's give them some positive.
So Saturday afternoon before the game, while I was hanging out in tents and meeting new people, you were over at the big tent at the O-Dome.
That's
right.
And
Florida had an open hoops basketball practice, which is really cool that they do that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of schools do that, but you just get the sense, we say it before, Todd Golden seems to get it. He just seems to get it. Like the fan experience, if you just ran into him and didn't know who he was, he just looks like one of us and acts like one of us. He's just a regular guy. And they had an open hoops practice. What did you think? What did you see? It was pretty cool. Obviously, there were some guys there that you're going to want to mention. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. They've done that before, and I've seen obviously open practices, but to have it in the O-Dome, open to the fans as well, right before game is just a cool way to start the day. And got in there. I probably got in 10 minutes after they had started, so I didn't notice this initially, but I watched the first game and. It was just the starters going against the backups and pretty standard lineup. And then they ran about probably 8 games or so to 13, and then they kept running it back and switching up the lineups. Well, in the second game, looking out on the court, is that who I think it is? Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard are out there practicing with the Gators against, the starters. Tommy Houck was on their team. And they're going against Boogie Flan, Xavier Lee, Ruben Chinyelu, Alex Condon. I mean, just what a scene. And then, of course, Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard picked up where they left off.
Yeah.
Clayton's hitting fadeaways. Will Richard's hitting threes left and right. Keith, he had one game where they were playing to 13. He hit 3 3-pointers and a layup. He scored 11 of the 13 points in 2 minutes and the game was over. It was the Will Richard game. But it was very cool to see Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan matched up against the two guys that they're coming in to replace. And I will say Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan held their own. Both of those guys made big plays. Boogie Flan made back-to-back 3-pointers at one point. Xavier Lee, I'm talking about all this. You can go on our YouTube channel right now and watch all this. We've got the highlights up, and there's back-to-back plays there from Xavier Lee where he, made a great alley-oop to Alex Condon in transition, and then another one where he blows by Walter Clayton with a nice move, and then just incredible finish, acrobatic underneath the basket layup by Xavier Lee. And you can hear me when I'm recording the video. I even let out a little ooh when he made the play. So and then after it got over, Carlin Hartman and Todd Golden came walking up and just came over and said hi to me. And I told him, I said, man, you guys look good. And Carlin Hartman goes, yeah, we got a chance. And it was a little tongue in cheek there, but I think they do got a chance to be pretty good this year.
I saw some film with Xavier Lee. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute, but I saw some film with Xavier Lee over the summer, and man, it just looks like that guy can pass the hell out of the ball, Zach. I mean,
oh my gosh,
like maybe passes that we're not used to seeing in maybe ever at the O-Dome. I don't want to, that's a lot. Maybe since White Chocolate.
Jason Williams, he kept putting there.
He's
at one
the
point.
only other one I could think of, really.
Yeah.
They've had great point guards before, but maybe not. There was only one Jason Williams. I mean, if he plays for 3-4 years, Ronnie Montgomery was good, but he didn't do what Jason Williams did. Clifford Lett was good. Torian Green, they didn't do what that guy did. Xavier Lee's eyes, what'd you think? I mean, what'd you think about all that stuff?
Yeah, it was very impressive. You can also see, although he didn't always play with Tommy, but him and Hal have some great chemistry. He's also developed some good chemistry with Boogie Flan in the backcourt. I thought that those guys played very well off of each other, got each other open looks, both of them. So it was impressive to see, and it was good to see Boogie Flan back out there. Obviously, he missed the end of summer workouts, so it was good to see him back out there. But more importantly, it was just like what a culture and program that Todd Golden has built in Gainesville, where you got 2 NBA players that are coming to play with your current team, and going out there mixing up with the guys, and it just it speaks a lot to what's happening right now in Gainesville.
Yeah, they wanted to come back. They wanted to hang out, and then they wanted to go to the football game. I saw them at a tailgate. In fact, I was at the same tailgate they were at. I turn around, and Walter Clayton's sitting right behind me, or standing right behind me. Good dudes, and man, they're gonna have some ballers out there. Zach, we wanted to end with good news. That was it. It got everybody excited about basketball again. We will break down Florida LSU later this week. We're gonna have a recruiting show this week. Zach's gonna be headed out to Baton Rouge. Always a fun trip. And but anyway, that'll do it for the Monday edition of the Gators Online Show. For Zach Albaverdi, I am Keith Niebuhr. Make sure you go to gatorsonline.com for more great content. Make sure also you go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. And sometimes we get in there and answer them and mix it up with you guys too. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. We'll do it again soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good, happy, safe week. Stay away from ledges and sharp objects. It's going to get better. It always does. Take care.